optimization functions, focusing upon putting the load-bearing features to the exterior of the building, allowing the interior to have that free flow transformation. So if people do want to move their walls around, they can, with the least amount of impact in the manufacturing end of things, of constantly creating onesie-twosies that ends up, of course, killing the cost benefit we're trying to achieve. So the ability to create the structure with the adaptation to adapt the structures to each person's.
Is an entire set of housing from the cradle to retirement, so that the individual can stay within their own community, going back to a lifestyle of more of the front porch, community garden type of a life. And I think that lifestyle and that type of a community can be modular, and therefore now that we've developed this community, we can place it anywhere in the world.
Okay. Communities really need jobs. They need us to come in and help them provide housing, but they need to have the money to stay at home. They need to provide people with jobs in their community. So as we kind of looked at, I'll give you a little case study. There's a little town called Fuller, Texas, which is south of.
Having the building to be customized is very important because we manufacture buildings, and all the way from storage buildings all the way up to churches and extravagant things. But even in our storage buildings, that the farmers are buying for their garages or storing their tractors or things, we have building packages which we advertise. Maybe 3 different sizes. A nice little barn, has a little opening, has a little door, just what you would imagine would be everybody would want. There are specials that are out there for anybody to buy, but we've never sold one because every single building is different.
Number one, we want to solve the problems of housing for the masses, and we can generate more problems. We do not have the right solution. In other words, we could be exacerbating the issue instead of improving it. Why? Because we have a T sub C that is the doubling time right now of everything that has been created about 25 to 30 years. What does that mean? Is that everything that existed in the year 2000, all of the infrastructure, all of the buildings, all of the airports, everything that we have built in 25 or 30 years will be duplicated. In other words, double that amount will be in place. So whatever it is that we do, first we need to find what is the most effective thing to do so we can do it efficiently, and then even filter that through Popper to find out what is the problem that we are creating. Otherwise, we are blind to our own success story.
Okay. What problem did the iPod solve?
Yeah.
Kind of my point is that perhaps the real opportunity here is not go out and try to solve a problem that so many have tried to solve and failed miserably. I mean, when you start saying we're going to solve the problem of the poor, we're going to solve the problem of housing, we're going to solve the problem of that in itself becomes a very serious inhibitor, barrier, obstacle, and all of the above. If we start posing the question on, hey, there are markets that are not served. I mean, there's a book called Designing for the Other 90%. That's actually a very interesting point. So are we really here to solve problems of the world, or are we here to capitalize on the opportunity that the idea of GeoStream offers? Because
we have to be really practical about how we take all this brainstorming and not get too far ahead of ourselves where we're trying to solve world hunger, but identify a few starving children and feed the starving children, to use that analogy. And then by doing that, if you end up solving a significant amount of world hunger and transforming the industry and coming up with incredible solutions that change people's lives in a magnificent way, so be it. But we've got to be real careful as well that we go after this in a very practical, pragmatic way where you focus in, identify those things that you think can get you the biggest bang for the buck, and focus in on those items that not only look economically viable in the short term and long term, but that go after the things that have the right purpose. Because at the end of the day, if you go after those things that have the right purpose, like serving underserved needs in the rural communities, creating the value there, keeping the value there, it's going to be a natural knock-on effect that's going to grow and that's going to spread and that's going to transform. And so, maybe we have in the back of our mind, it's under
green and environmentally friendly, but that, you get away from that part of it because communities don't like us or didn't like us.
So how do we get away from that?
Well, you don't use the
It's
word
a different-
manufactured housing.
It's an environmental solution, and just try and work around the fact that you got it there on the truck. And now there's a $100 one, which is an affordable phone. And
If you give the buyer a white piece of paper, as you guys know, you've got nothing but trouble. You're going to lose all your economies of scale, and the buyer doesn't know what to do. It's not until you provide constraint, that the buyer now has a range of choices.